What makes you such a good fighter?
Um, I don't know. I'm just curious about it. I'm curious about it. It's never. I mean, it's in my head 24/7. There's nothing else I can think. I don't think about nothing else. If and that's it. I'm just curious, curiously fascinated with it, and I can't stop thinking about it. Everything I do in my life is related to this. I don't do nothing else if it's not got to do with the fight. You know what I mean? You know, I heard a quote one time from Vincent van Gogh that really rang true. He said, he has dedicated his life to his art, and he has lost his mind in the process. When I sat and I thought about that, it sounded very familiar. I have given every single thing, every ounce of my life to this craft, to perfecting my craft, and I continue to do so. And in the process, I have lost my mind to regular society, to people who wake up at 9 a.m., who clock out at 5 p.m. They would look at me and say, I've lost my mind. But me, I have found it almost.
Quote, that most men live lives of quiet desperation. It's one of my favorite quotes ever because it's true. And I've been that guy. You're just in this world where you just can't wait to just run away. You have an apartment you have to pay for, you have a car you leased, you have a wife that you have to feed, you have a child you have to raise, you have your mortgage, you have your this, you have your that, and that's where it all comes from. The only way I could be this person now is if I took that chance when I was 21, when I was dead broke and had my cars repossessed and all that stuff. That's the only way you ever get where you want to go. You have to take a path that's dangerous, and most people want to take the safe path. And the safe path leaves you stuck in quiet desperation almost every time. It's hell. Try to be an author and you're working 8 hours a day plus commuting plus family responsibilities or whatever else you have. Whatever time that you have to attack like you're trying to save the world. You're trying to save your life. You don't want to drown. That 1.5 hours a day that you have to write, god damn, you better be caffeinated and motivated. You got to go. You got to get after it. And you got to have discipline. Most people don't have those things. Most people don't understand what it's like to really go for something. And to know that the consequences of not doing that are horrific.
You know, Quentin, you think that we're this really great team, we're this really great crew. Well, we are. I mean, you know, this is that time of your 20s, we're like your group of friends or your family, you know. And like, well, we are. Quentin, at 20, I worked at South Bay Cinemas, and I hung out with a bunch of guys just like you. And some girls there too. There was a bunch of guys just like you. And then I stopped working at South Bay Cinema. Then I worked at Miller's Outpost and hung out with a bunch of guys just like you, and we did everything just like we do. We went to movies together, we went out and we dated amongst the girls there, everything. Yeah, then I worked at Leisure Pizza for 4 years with a bunch of guys just like you. I've wasted my life hanging out with a bunch of guys just like you. And they all go away at a certain point. And I realize this guy's kind of telling the truth. He's showing me a truth about himself.
And I'm not preaching at you. I'm just, I just want to remind you, because I've spent a lot of time in my life sitting around wanting things to change, and not being able to make them change, and not thinking I could. And I wish somebody had told me that earlier sometimes. That in order for something to change, there needs to be change. Yeah, it's crazy to sometimes think like, what can happen if we decide, I'm going to see what happens when I decide that I am qualified. What happens when I decide for myself that I'm going to do something different? You know, one thing, Jocko Willink was in here last week, and one thing that's really been pressing with me that we discussed is staying motivated. And I have been finding myself more motivated, even when I do not feel like doing something, to do it. That my brain doesn't dictate how. My brain does not get to choose. My brain can feel a certain way, but it's not going to choose how I behave all the time. I just can't let it do it anymore. I'm gonna have setbacks, I know. But if I'm feeling bad, that doesn't mean I'm doing bad. That doesn't mean I am bad. That doesn't mean that I can't still take some action. Because yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes, man.